I started growing, kneeling on my knees in my closet with, fluorescent lights, and the plant caught me. It is a teacher plant. It's one of the main teacher plants, I think, definitely of this era of our existence. But they're not unsusceptible to adulation and ego, which seems to be elements going on. And what I'm speaking of is the context of a biodynamic principle, and more so one that I've taken further. I call biocognitive, which means we kind of geometrically perceive the things we can't see, but we are opening up to. And marijuana is one of those elements that leads us to having the sensitivity to open up to things and understanding things that we can't see. There it is. And that's part of the difficulty too, that it's creating some knowledge that can't be proven with survival mind circuits. Okay, I basically, biodynamics originated not far from here. Rudolf Steiner, I believe it was, he's an Austrian, I believe it was created. It's a stem off of theosophy, I think, yeah. And I've learned more about it and more about the dynamics of what I was speaking of what's actually intentionally drawn into the food now, bringing the farmer in of consciousness. The intention of the farmer, if the intention of the farmer is to grow food to heal the humans who eat it and maintain their bodies and turn on their self-healing modes, they'll naturally understand that the life of the soil is actually the channel that is carried through to the food, to the human. Mostly intentional. That's why, because biodynamics is involved with a lot of special preparations, like you would have cow manure, put it in a cow horn, buried in the earth for a certain season, and it's absorbing cosmic forces. And then a small homeopathic quantity is added to compost or sprayed on the plants in a mixed, where you would even stir the water to set up the colloidal structure of water to be more conducive to absorption. Like a German farmer would stir his bucket and sing into it, and that vibration would set up the water in a different way, and it would be more effective on carrying it into the plant and into also the etheric energy dynamic of the plant.
Do you see an effect when you're growing cannabis biodynamically a different plant than when you grow it organically?
No, there's not really any distinctions. And where I was saying that I'm not a biodynamic farmer is that I think biodynamics was given as somewhat a busy work for consciousness that wasn't ripe to understand geometrically what's going on, or having the senses to understand what's actually going on. So it was kind of, humans went through these motions and they focused their intentions, and they had a practice to be able to embed the intention, the proper intentions into their actions to the farming, to the food. But I believe and marijuana is part of this, that helps raise our level of comprehension, that we no longer have to go through those practices. We can actually, like a baker growing bread, making bread, they have a relationship with the yeast. The mushroom grower has a relationship to the mycelium. The farmer has a relationship to the life in the soil. And so the more that life, that connection is understood. I grow personally for personal uses every year. I just get clones from grower friends. And I basically use this is for the farming process too, all my seedlings, all the starts, mushroom compost. Something that's been created for an agricultural use. Can we describe the media a little bit? It should smear to nothing between your fingers if it's humus. Most bagged soil, it can't be what it needs to be because it would rot in the bag. So, I mean, in all reality, most of the bag soil is basically just a media to hold the plant up. There's very low, you'll notice the soils do not go to smear to nothing in your fingers. So to get the life in the soil, you almost have to take on making your own soil.
And so how do you go about that, to really get the good organic soil?
Well, I like to start, like I said, you find a mushroom grower who's growing agaricus, usually agaricus. They make compost halfway. is the process you use to grow mushrooms. So you get that and age it another month or so. That's the easiest way. Otherwise, you just study up, get the CN ratio right in a pile, and make your soils. Overall, the results are higher quality, and there may be more instabilities introduced over time. But in time, you get to understand the system dynamically, rather than like hydro, where you would understand it immediately, or else it's not going to work. And one of the things I have to say, I cannot smoke hydroponic weed. My lungs will rattle in a month. I'm a fairly heavy smoker, and I grow. I mostly only smoke my own for these reasons, because most of the people I know are hydro, or I've seen a lot of the practices just to save the product, and I don't want anyone I don't want to. So we need some understanding in, especially for medical, because a lot of, like I said, a lot of it affects my lungs if I smoke hydroponically grown or something that absorbed a lot of nitrates. The same way when I used to smoke cigarettes years ago, the natural cigarettes had a lot less rattling effect on my lungs than if it was the regular additive cigarettes. So I'm experiencing the same thing in the contrast of cleanly grown and then with the chemical substances used, because the nitrates stay there. There's a lot of stuff that even sizzle. The salts get absorbed.
They're cutting. They're not really rooted there at all. You're just putting them in there for rooting. What's the best procedure besides putting cream or gel on?
My wife, to be honest, she does a lot of that, and she'll actually want to work if you find some willow. If you want to do it in a natural way, if you find some willow trees and cut the stems up and soak them in water, and that would even be in addition to even water your plants. Water the first waterings with that willow extract, because if you take a willow branch and stick it anywhere, it roots. That's how you propagate them, and so there's a rooting hormone naturally in the willow, and that's the only natural method I know other than the gels.
That's awesome, man.
What's the best way to increase the size of your roots to make it grow?
Lateral. One of the things with roots is a round container is not conducive to root growth. So what I found is troughs. That's one of them. I grow in 4 by 8 by 2 foot deep troughs, and they'll consistently produce 2 pound, with 3 or 4 in each, consistently 2 pound plants. If they have that much lateral root growth, it's really lateral root growth they want. A round pot really limits a plant's ability to be happy in the root zone.
Beneficial microbes to put on the roots that would make them decrease the size.
They exist. I'm assuming compost, like I was saying. A bucket of compost, a 5-gallon bucket of compost, probably has 2 of those containers of humic powders just in the compost. So basically, those are they work, but the compost is the key. Those humic acids are the universal enzyme for all nutrient uptake of plant life. If humic acids aren't there, it struggles in its existence. It'll still live, it's a living thing, so it's going to struggle, and it has its own intention to live, and it'll live by all means. And in our intentions, like I was saying, it's called a botany of desire, that the marijuana plant is really living because we really want it to. Especially this collective, the humans are really starting to focus on it. And then we gotta watch, is this plant now instigating us to grow it for actually human, in that it's actually harmonic with our human reasons. Kind of like corn, where America's experiencing a diet of 78% calorie, or more than that, from corn. And it's kind of interesting, we were walking around one time at a dead show, the corn gods. I saw the Mayans, they evoked the corn god, and it's like this botany of desire. Now the corn is actually instigating us to grow it.